I'm Eric Barnes with the Daily Memphian, and welcome to The Sidebar, a weekly show on the community, arts, culture, and more. Today we're talking with Taylor Berger, who is co-owner of Young Avenue Sound. We're sitting here in his studio over in Young Avenue, Cooper Young area. So stay with us for a conversation with Taylor. Taylor, thanks for being here.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming.
I hadn't seen you in a while. I realized when we email and you've written some columns, but I hadn't seen your. You've got a little feral. You got the hair. You've got the beard. I mean, it's a good look though, but I don't mean feral in a bad way. I think
the pandemic stayed with me a little bit, actually.
Yeah.
But I did go kind of dark. I mean, in the pandemic, I got out of all of my hospitality businesses and started doing a few different things, including with some partners buying this building.
Yeah. Yeah. And we'll talk, I mean, people know you from, and again, my sense of time is so screwy that I think of it as yesterday that you started Laughlin, Rail Garden,
right.
and then you did, what were you doing during the pandemic? Because restaurants were shut down. And you got a truck and you were like, I mean, I don't mean this, I'm not making fun of you. It was great. It was like, you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they closed everything. And so we had myself and all these bartenders who needed work. And so we started doing stuff and that business is still going on. We're still moving things around for people.
What was it called again? What was the
Two Broke Bartenders.
Two Broke Bartenders. So now it's many more broke bartenders or other non-bartenders.
It goes like this.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah. But we're sitting here in the studio, Young Avenue Sound here in Cooper Young. You were nice enough just to walk around. And we're going to bring in Christopher Franklin here, like the director of operations for the studio. You've got 3 studios. Right. In different places. You got involved with this in 2022.
Yeah.
For people who don't know, tell the history of this space. There's a lot of Memphis music history in here.
Yeah. A guy named Don Mann developed this building 25 years ago. And at the time, you had artists like Yo Gotti, up and coming. Now we think of him as an icon, which he is. But, back in the day, he got to start here. 8 Ball and MJG recording that music, that early, post 666, but that was part of it too. A lot of it got its start here. And it thrived for years and years until he passed away. It's been a while, but the building kind of just sat for a while, being used as private studio space and whatnot. And then Elliot Ives and I bought it in 2022 and started renovating and updating. And it really took us a long time.
Yeah.
I would say we didn't really finish until January.
of this year.
Yeah.
And when you're walking me around, there's, these different studios, and I haven't been in a ton of studios. We did with Matt Ross-Bang, we did a sit down with him in this studio over in Crosstown. I've been in other studios. It's huge. I even looking at the building, you don't realize what all is going on in here. There's some apartment space for people, but like I think you told me last night, you had 3 different recordings going on all at the same time.
Yeah. I mean, it's 10,000 square feet. Okay. A typical recording studio is 1,200, right? But we have 3 plus a bunch of other space. And, that's why it took so long to update everything. There was a lot of space, but, it was wild because Elliot had been out of town touring with Justin Timberlake. He came back about 2 months ago for 3 weeks. I was like, man, we're done. We're ready to come out again. And he's like, yeah. And then simultaneously that weekend, our 3 house engineers quit, moved to Nashville and other places. And we're just like, what are we going to do? We started to see that as part of a problem, really, that we see a lot with artists as they start to make it, producers, engineers, as they start to make it here, they end up leaving.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot of, or really any major label infrastructure here.
Right.
Okay, in Memphis. But at the same time, we have tons of musicians, artists, writers here.
Yeah, let's dig into that because I mean, we emailed back and forth about that whole idea because you think of the cool. I mean, I meant Matt Ross-Bang, Grammy Award-winning engineer producer. You can go all this active, not just the history of Memphis music, but active music and musicians and studio spaces here and things that are happening. But no real major labels. That's not to dismiss anybody who has an independent label here or anything, but the importance of that and the role of that, for better or worse, is what?
It puts a lot on us as a community to kind of do it for ourselves. You know, there's not big money financing this stuff. It's, you know, independent artists, independent smaller labels, producers and stuff, kind of piecing it together, and doing a really good job. I mean, you can see that as a problem, or you can see that as something really special and cool that we can coax into a real community. And so that's kind of what we started to do here. There are awesome recording studios all over the city and in here.
Yeah.
Okay. And what we're trying to do is create kind of a hub. Okay. So that, you know, all these musicians, writers, artists can have a place, can have a home base, whether they choose to record here or not, is fine. With, you know, if they're making a song that we hear sounds good with Ari or Matt Ross Bank, whatever, like we want to feel like they can go around anywhere and get the support they need and the specialty that they need. Okay. Because here is a place that they can come back to, write, you know, have, you know, sessions for that, have sessions for learning about tech, administration, all these different elements of the music business that traditionally labels did all that for you. Yeah. But now we have to do it all, from content creation to recording to writing to administration and everything else. So we just kind of, we're trying to tease out a model that feels like a safe place to be from a business perspective, also from an artistic perspective. You know.
And does that extend to, I mean, this building is big. It costs a lot of money to run. I'm sure on a certain level, getting music out there, promoting. I mean, where does the financial support? I guess that's part of what a big label brings, right? Is they're going to bring money with it, a lot of demands. I mean, there's all that, but money is a part of this on some level for the artists and for getting the music out there.
Yeah.
So where does that come into play?
Well, and so our mission is not dissimilar to a lot of other great organizations here, Stax included, which are nonprofits, right? Which that's how they're funded. When we're funded by, you know, basically time and space here.
People
renting
who rent
out time and space.
Yeah.
And our clients are the engineers and producers that work with the artists. And, you know, that's essentially where it's coming from. It's actually not that much money. If you compare the cost of recording something here or having a camp here to Nashville,
yeah,
I mean, you're talking about a fourth of the cost. And that's another reason why it's like, why aren't more people coming here to record? Why are we going out there?
Right.
Like the costs are lower. The talent is here. Yeah. Like, what's the problem?
I remember talking to Ward Archer, who I think still has a studio, you know, some blocks from here. And when he toured me around, this is 8 years ago, but before the pandemic, so it was a long time ago. But he talked about one of the big transformations for them was, one, people could come here and work for longer because it's just cheaper to stay here. And one thing was just Airbnbs made a big difference because artists could stay in the neighborhood. They love being in the neighborhood. Right. They weren't, you know, they didn't, Archer Records, I think it is, didn't have the costs of taking people back and forth downtown, all that, but there were certain advantages to being here. Now, they're a smaller independent label, so, you know, but when people come here from out of town, their reaction is what?
They feel pretty good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they're excited to be here. I mean, somebody was here yesterday from LA. It's like, I love Memphis music. Yeah. Like, he was so excited to be here for the first time. And then, you know, to come in here with his artist and start actually doing something here in this place with such a history. And I'm not talking about this building. I'm talking about this city with such a heritage, and then making something new, you know, here, it's energizing.
Yeah. Again, I'll remind everyone we're talking to Taylor Berger. We're sitting here in Young Avenue Sound. He's co-owner of the building here. And we're going to talk to Christopher Franklin, Director of Operations, here in just a minute. But most of the engineers and producers, they are mostly from Memphis, mostly from out of town that you're working with?
Oh, almost everyone is from Memphis here.
Yeah.
You know, we have clients that come in from out of town.
Okay, that was my second question.
And everything from out of town, and they're producers. But our house people who work here, that bring those folks into Memphis are almost exclusively from Memphis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the types of music that you're working with. I mean, you're renting, if somebody wants to come in and do whatever, Sousa music with, an accordion, I guess you'll rent them that space. But that isn't necessarily the
Marcella
vibe.
can play the hell out of an
Yeah, there we
accordion.
go. All right.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I walked right into that. Yeah, that's right. Because she recorded an album here. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. So it is a lot of rap, pop. That's what Elliot's background is. That's what the studio has done forever. And that's what Memphis is kind of known for. But we also have a ton of, new soul, funk, whatever Marcella does, what genre bending stuff that is so important now. Because I think, as a music lover, and maybe you too, I mean, what's interesting now is not copies of stuff that's been done. It's blending and doing something that's interesting, that hasn't been done before. And I think more and more that takes blending of genre and people. And that's what Memphis has so much of, that kind of cross.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I don't want to pick on Nashville because it gets tiresome, but there's a certain ubiquity to what they're doing up there. I know there are lots of different types of country and blue and Americana music and all that, but I don't know. I think what they've gotten, it's kind of, you lose some identity when you get so associated with a type of music that dominates. And I think in Memphis that isn't true. And some people might fault it for that. But anyway, it's that blending is hugely important.
And I just, you talk about Nashville. I mean, I've been talking to Mackenzie over at Crosstown Sync and some other people and that have done writing camps. Yeah. And they're in Nashville, any night of the week, there's writing camps, bringing people together, making music with no expectation other, just have some fun, make some connections, and move on. It's why don't we have more of that here?
Yeah.
So that's kind of the opportunity I think we have to provide here.
Before we we'll do some housekeeping in a second and bring in Christopher, but quick, restaurants, you ever just look at a restaurant and go, God, I want to go run that restaurant? Do you ever think you want to build a whole new restaurant bar experience out in a vacant lot that turns into something? Or do you really lose the taste for it?
Look, I think if I have my artistry, I guess, is creating places. I loved making Rail Garden. I loved making Laughlin Yard. And that same thing translates here. And I feel like we're making something not physically like those places, but a place, that is a place where art just happens, and that's such a delicate but important task that it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And it makes me really humble every day because I am not a musician. I don't understand that process.
I was going to ask that. Yeah. But you love music.
But I love music and I love what music does for me, and for our community. And so to get to be a part of creating a place where that's going to happen more is the most exciting project that I've ever done, but also the hardest.
Yeah. Yeah. Last question, which we usually do at the end, but we're going to get Christopher in here, is what was the first concert you ever went to?
John Denver at Mud Island.
Nice. That's pretty good. I think we've had John. I always try to ask that. I feel like I always love the Mud Island ones because I only saw a couple concerts there, but they were kind of amazing. Even when it was run down and horrible, the experience of being down on the river for a good concert was pretty amazing. But John Denver, how old were you?
It was in the 80s, so it was popping. Yeah. I guess. I was very young. I was 7 or 8.
Yeah. What was the first concert you spent your own money to go to?
Probably the back at Spin Doctors at Mud Island.
Okay. Yeah.
When I was in junior high.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. That's good. Yeah. All right. We got Taylor Berger here, and we're going to bring in Christopher Franklin. He's Director of Operations for Young Avenue Sound. Let me take just a minute, though, and do some housekeeping. Remind everyone, this is The Sidebar. I'm Eric Barnes. The Sidebar airs on WYXR 91.7 every Thursday at 11:30, focused on the community, arts, culture, everything in between. It's not just a radio show, though. It's one of a number of weekly podcasts. We do it at the Daily Memphian, including the Memphis Grizzlies podcast, our food podcast, Soundbites, and coming very soon, AMDM, our 5-day-a-week morning podcast with Mary Casciola, our editorial director, and Natalie Van Gundy. If you all hear the news updates she does on WYXR, all those will get bundled into AMDM. That starts in a week or two. That will soft launch. Let's not put a hard date on that, Natalie says, and I totally respect that. But it's going to be awesome. That kind of 10, 15-minute morning. Mary will sit, talk to one of the reporters about a biggest story of a day. They'll talk for a few minutes, and then we'll get these updates, morning, the early word, all that kind of stuff together, all in one podcast coming soon. You can get all of those podcasts at the WYXR site. You can actually, but you can get them at the Daily Memphian. You can get them on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I should also mention that we host the podcast version of Behind the Headlines, the TV show we do with the folks over at WKNO every week. And you can get that there as well. If you're not a supporter of WYXR, do consider becoming one. It is nonprofit, listener-supported radio. You can do a donation. You can become a member and get all kinds of benefits. And you can do that at the WYXR app or WYXR.org, or you can also get archives of all the shows, the music shows and the talk shows. Also, if you're not a subscriber to the Daily Memphian, do become one. We are the largest newsroom in the region, and subscriptions are what really pays about 50% of what we do. Donations, advertising, events all cover the rest. Coming up soon on the sidebar, I think it's next week, is the folks from Code Crew, which will be great to talk to them. It's been a while since I've talked to them. Recently, we had Chris Husong, the executive director of the Metal Museum, talking about an update on the huge project. If you have not seen it, it is a massive remodeling and project of the old Memphis College Art in the middle of Overton Square. We also talked to the folks from Shell on Wheels, live at the Garden. And coming up soon on Behind the Headlines, Brent Taylor and Mark White talking about education in Memphis and Tennessee, but specifically in Memphis, and changes they'd like to see, as well as talking to folks from Mississippi Boulevard Church about the big, massive redevelopment in Midtown that they are looking to do. And this week is a rerun. Can we call it a rerun? It's a second airing of an amazing magical show for July 3rd. Matt Thompson, CEO of the Zoo. Again, that will be this week. It'll be July 4th, actually, that it airs. That's why it's a rerun. So we recently did shows on elections, on homelessness, on the county budget. All those are available as podcasts, or you can get the video at Daily Memphian. And as mentioned, we are joined now by Christopher Franklin. He's Director of Operations at Young Avenue Sound. What does that mean? It sounds very formal, but you don't strike me as a particularly formal guy. But what does that mean to be Director of Operations here?
Pretty much in control of everything that happens around, day-to-day operations, and make sure everybody's in the right place, everything's running the way it's supposed to run, everybody's where they're supposed to be.
Yeah.
Just make sure everything's operating.
So what does it mean, everyone? So again, like we were talking with Taylor, I'm a person who loves music, has some idea how a studio works from movies I've seen and documentaries and such, but I have no idea how to play a single note of music or what really goes into this. So when you're talking about everybody, that's engineers, that's people with the band, that's band members, that's producers, or am I totally off?
No, so that's clients, producers, anybody that walks inside the building, that's members, admin, everything. Just make sure the train is running as smooth as possible.
Yeah. And we were talking before when you guys toured us around, you had 3 separate recordings going on, 50 people. What's that like? Is that all fun or is it a little bit stressful?
Both, but more so on the fun side.
Yeah.
But stress is always there.
Yeah.
Of course, because that's a lot to manage.
Yeah.
I'm, trying to walk around and everything, but it gets to a point where it's like, well, it's more fun than stressful.
Yeah. And in part of the role, people are by and large renting space, right? Yeah. So they're paying for this space. Are there times where is there a balancing act of saying no to people? I mean, they're paying for it, but they want X or they want Y or is it, or no? Does that not really come into play?
It just depends. Okay. You can't really just put a time on it.
Yeah.
But it just depends. Sometimes, maybe, but not really. Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah.
Not really.
And what's your background? You've been here, we were joking before, 4 to 6 weeks, we think, somewhere in that time frame. So you're new with Young Avenue Sound, but I assume you've been in this business for quite some time.
Yeah. So, where do I start? I really don't know where to start. I mean, I've been in music since I was born.
Yeah.
Basically. But as far as just being in the sector as a producer, not as long as I've been a musician. I've been playing bass since I was 9, but I've been a producer maybe only for about 4 or 5 years now.
Yeah.
Other things, I'm into music director for Corey Lou with The Village, and also he's the other director of operations here. So I guess I'll say I'm a co-director of operations.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that. I've been with that band for about 4 years.
Yeah.
I've been with that band for 4 years now. So that's another thing I'm pretty much into, but mainly producing is my main thing. And of course, I play bass. I play at Brown Baptist every week.
Okay. You said you started at 9.
Yeah.
Was it
I
a family thing, a church thing?
I started in my home church. My home church is King Solomon. But the thing is, I wasn't playing bass. I was singing in the choir.
Gotcha.
Yeah. The bass player there taught me how to play, but he wouldn't let me play. And he had to go out of town one Sunday, and they let me play, but they only let me play one Sunday. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll just stay in the choir. But that was pretty much where I started.
That's where you started. Mm-hmm. How old are you?
I'm 25.
25. See, I can't tell how old people are anymore. You're younger than my son, which blows my mind. I mean, actually. But so the I don't know if you know Jeff Coran. Jeff he teaches. He does a lot of things. He teaches it at U of M, and he produces and he manages acts, and he does all these things. He's on the board of YXR, and I'm on the board of YXR. I met him. I don't know. I met him through the YXR thing somehow. A great guy, and he talks about how in this day and age, most people going into music, they need to do what you're doing. Right. You're going to have a bunch of gigs. And that's what you're going to have. You're going to fill up your life with music in a whole lot of different ways. Some of it you're going to like, I'm paraphrasing it poorly probably. Some of it you're going to love. Some of it it's going to be fun. Some of it you're going to do because it pays the bills, but you can make this life. That's kind of what it sounds like you've done. Or you're doing.
I've done it, and I think I've kind of figured out something else. So my wife, Aaliyah Franklin, during the pandemic, she made me look at a lot of things differently. Yes, doing gigs, it's fun, it pays the bills and everything, but there's going to come a time where, just like the pandemic, the world shut down.
Yeah.
No gigs, can't pay your bills. I was doing it for a while, and then she made me start looking at things a lot differently. I started getting into the production sector. I started running my own businesses. I stepped into things like this, and yes, of course I still do that, and it's fun and it pays the bills when it's supposed to, but I wouldn't necessarily say it, runs me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Touring, do you tour and you're in the bus or you're in the car or you're in the van kind of thing? Or how much of that have you done?
My brother, actually, Jamal Franklin, he's been on about 3 tours now. I personally don't want to tour.
I love talking to musicians about it. It's a mixed reaction.
I forgot to mention this. So I'm a triplet. So there's 3 of me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So there's 3 of me. So matter of fact, one of my brothers is in DC right now, and the other brother is in Dallas.
All playing music?
Yeah, all playing music.
That's amazing.
And I'm here.
Yeah.
I personally don't want to. Eventually, I may want to, try it, but at this moment, that's not one of my goals.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Not really.
Yeah. It sounds rough. I'm sure it's really fun and then really rough and then really fun and then really exhausting.
So I really focus on my mental a lot.
Yeah.
And I really feel like going on tour would really be detrimental to my mental.
Yeah.
I'm a family person. I have a daughter who's 2. I have another daughter on the way.
Oh, congratulations.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
So those things keep me from wanting to just be away from for a long time. I'd rather just be at home and figure it out here and then develop something that I could eventually pass on to them.
Yeah.
Make sure my family's safe, my wife is good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Again, for everyone, we're here with Christopher Franklin. He's director of operations with Young Avenue Sound. Why Young Avenue Sound? What drew you to it?
Well, the crazy thing is, myself and Corey Lou came here to rent a room. That's all we came to do. We came to rent a room. We rented a room upstairs, and we were here day after day, And it eventually grew into something. And we started, talking about what the building can do, what it can become, Of course, it's a recording studio, but what else can we do in the building? So we started thinking about content creation. We started thinking about podcasting, rehearsals, even other rooms to record in, and it led to, I guess, the title, and officially putting things into play for the building to do what it's supposed to do. We developed a membership program to where creatives can come in and have 24/7 access to the space.
Oh. You mentioned membership earlier. I want to circle back to that. So what do they pay a certain amount per month or year or something like that?
Yeah, so it's $50 a month. It's $50 a month. They can come in and they have 24/7 access to our common areas. That's the lobby, the beautiful kitchen you said was so clean.
It was so clean. You guys had 3 different acts last night, and we walked by this kitchen just so people who they obviously didn't see it. Yeah. And I walked by and I was like, man, that's a really nice kitchen. And Taylor was joking. He goes, nah, it's not, I don't know. I was like, no, I would think if you had that many 50 people in here last night and everything was stacked real neatly, that's his restaurant. Right.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But they pay $50 a month. They have access to all of the common areas. They can go in our glass room, which is for content creation, podcasting, or our listening room, which can be used for rehearsals, recording, or any other type of content. We just had a video shoot in there not too long ago. So, and they get discounted rates when it comes to Studio A and all of the other studios we have around the building.
Right. With just a minute left, what did I miss? Anything? I didn't fully understand the scope of what y'all were doing. I'll be honest. That's amazing. I mean, so you're actively getting out there, trying to get artists in, as whether they're members or not, and doing all these different things in here. And it is amazing to walk around because there is a different sort of vibe or kind of in every room and every space. And it, again, I've driven by this building a million times. It's much, much bigger than I realized.
So we want to be a creative hub. Yeah. So as many creatives as possible come in, whatever you want to do, write, record, whatever. This building is specifically for that, whatever room you want to come into.
Yeah. Last question. You heard me asking Taylor, and I always ask everyone, first concert you went to that wasn't church.
First concert I went to that wasn't church. I can't even remember, honestly. But to the top of my mind, I think I went to go see, this is funny. I went to go see Mindless Behavior at age 11.
Okay.
That's crazy. That's the only concert I remember. That is so embarrassing.
That's all right. Where was it?
It was at the Lander Center.
At Landers?
Yeah, at the Lander Center. Yep.
Did you go with family or just?
Family. Of course.
All three brothers?
All 3 of my brothers. All 3 of my brothers.
Wait, let's do this. Best thing about being a triplet, worst thing about being a triplet?
Best thing about being a triplet is growing up together.
I bet.
And everything happens at the same time.
Oh my God.
Graduate the same time, birthdays the same time, Christmas the same. Everything is the same.
Yeah.
Worst thing is being called the wrong name for 25 years of living.
Are you out sometimes and people come over and start talking and you're like, yeah, no, that's my brother and my other brother?
Sometimes I entertain it and other times I ignore them. I'm the serious one of the bunch. So most of the time I ignore them. I don't say anything. And then they realize, okay, is he ignoring me or is this the wrong triplet? I'm like, oh, I was waiting for you to say my name.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. Christopher Franklin from Young Advent Sound, thanks very much. Thanks to Taylor Berger for being here as well. That is all the time we have this week. If you missed any of the episode, you can get the full episode online at iTunes, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, or you can go to wyxr.org or go to the app, or you can go to Daily Memphi and get the full episode. Thanks very much, and we'll see you next week.